Yeah, I should probably do something about that. Okay, Jgiusti and Athame join me. They're two of my favorite people for getting information about Cosmic Crucible defenses. They're going to explain to me exactly how I'm supposed to fix my defense. They've got some opposing views and some agreement on some things, and we've got a nice little slideshow and some spreadsheets made by Jgiusti and Athame. So we're going to take a look at these. I'll put links in the description to this stuff if you guys want it. So first off, guys, what is the big changes? Let's go to Jgiusti first. What's the big change to Cosmic Crucible that you think is going to be really impactful as far as the room bonuses go?
Okay, so the biggest advantage is going to be definitely the mutants over like giving them 500% resistance. That's a game changer. As we saw in like the Mystic room, it made Cloaking Dagger so much better. And you're just going to see that with Axeman and Uncanny. We'll get into deeper in that.
So you're the global rule, the Age of X, then?
Yes.
Okay. And Athame, you probably think that too, or is there a specific room you're really excited about?
So the global rule for sure is going to affect offense and defense across the board, and I think that will be particularly important in Rig 6, just with the team I'm thinking about there.
Okay. All right, let's take a look at this Cosmic Crucible breakdown that you guys have going here. You got the big winners, the Axemen, Axcanny, Uncanny Magic, and the Dad Bros, and Polaris. What's up with the big winners? Why are these guys so important?
A lot of that just has to do with the fact that all of these teams are using hero mutants, so all of them are getting that big advantage.
Your Age of X global rule, okay.
Yeah. X23 and Negasonic should be included here as well.
I noticed later in this you guys have that on there. Are we going to get to that? Because I'm curious about X23 and Negasonic.
Yeah, so I would say the big difference between the big winners and our up-and-comers, which we'll talk about in a minute, is these are probably tunes you already have built, right? We have Axeman already built for raids. You know, you probably have some version of Uncanny, maybe not Uncanny Magic, but you have... So these are tunes that you're already using, and you're going to get more value, because essentially... Age of X gives them what? It's the equivalent of giving them like 5 red stars extra.
Wow.
That's the easy way to think of it.
Okay. So they get real tough. This is great because I do have all of these teams not completely stacked, but yeah, I've got them. I've got them ready to go, and I'm hoping I'll get some use out of them. The big losers, which I'm kind of sad about, Weapon X, which we're going to find some places where we can still use Omega Red. Dorm defenses, Wakanda, which I'm really sad about. Like, they're supposed to be one of the premier Cosmic Crucible teams, but I'm not seeing a lot of use in the stuff that's coming out. And then Dark Hunters and Cloak and Dagger, which Cloak and Dagger have really fallen off hard too. So Athame, tell me about Dark Hunters and Wakanda, why I'm upset about this.
The Dark Hunters are going to have a naturally large problem because their entire kit is reliant on landing negative effects. So into any of those hero mutant teams, you're going to struggle. Gamma's probably going to be huge. I say probably, more than likely. And they are so much faster than Dark Hunters, which is just terrifying because Dark Hunters are not a slow team.
No, they're not.
By any metric. And Gamma just blows them out of the water. So you're going to run into a lot of resistance issues between those two teams, and the team's just not going to be able to hold up, even at high levels. As far as Wakanda hasn't fallen out. They just aren't going to be seen on defense.
Okay.
They're going to beat your dad bro comps. They're going to probably be able to beat other important teams, especially showing up in like 4 and or non-super crazy mutant teams that show up in 1 or 2.
Yeah, I was thinking about putting them in room 4, but then I was like, well, they don't look that special in there. Maybe I'll save them for offense for room 4 because room 4 kind of looks like a jumble. Jgiusti, tell me about Weapon X and the dorm defenses. Weapon X has a lot of villain mutants in it and not too many hero mutants, but dorm defenses, tell me about that one.
Okay, so, well, I'll just add a little thing for Wakanda. The biggest thing about Wakanda is the fact that they got rid of any bonuses that protect them from the things that go into it, like Black Order and Eye Watch.
Yeah.
So, because if you leave them on defense, right now you could have left them in 5 and they would have been safe from those type of counters coming in. They would be fine. But they don't have any protection through the rooms. And the same thing, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is because Dorm is the same way. Dormammu is now open to Axemen or somebody coming in and killing those members once at a time. Our Phoenix would be a good example of just clearing off all those extra revives and then coming in and actually still killing the team. So you're gonna see Dorm shifting. And Weapon X, the biggest thing is, I mean, we were using them a lot to counter Unlimited. And with that resistance bonus, they don't have a chance. They don't have a chance to land that AB block. And if that AB block doesn't land, they're gonna get rolled so hard.
Okay.
I mean, even without that resistance, you still see potential for Omega Red at 7/7 or as a skirmisher still failing that ability block.
Isn't that crazy?
That's the crazy part. Dormammu's going to be probably an essential for beating Gamma in Room 5.
Okay.
And then Wolverine will also see play, either as the 5th instead of Kitty on Astonishing or on Uncanny Magic.
Right, with the synergy he has there, that's pretty good. All right, potential up-and-comers. This is the one I was really curious about. Why do you guys like X-23 and Negasonic? I mean, I get the Black Bolt Yo-Yo. Doc Ock is going to be great with, Legendary. Invisible Woman is legendary if you want to use her in 6. Plus Invisible Woman pairing up with some other teams, Scarlet Witch doing the same thing too. So I get those, but X-23 and Negasonic, they're just hero mutants. What's the big deal here? Is it the opening speed? What's going on?
So with X-23, the big thing is going to be you can use her on an Eternals team to take advantage of her turn meter, as well as to fight, if anyone tries a Dorm comp. She still gets that extra 50% damage, which we still see X-23 do decent damage in war when she gets that buff from Negasonic. But now, since she'll just get it passively, she'll be able to do some work. And her biggest issue is susceptibility to negative effects, which isn't going to be as much of an issue when you throw an extra 500% resistance in her pocket.
Okay. Yeah, I'm taking notes here because I'm constantly adjusting what I'm going to be doing for defense. So I really enjoy these conversations with you guys. I just moved in my mind. I just moved X-23 from room 4 to room 6 with Eternals. So,
well, so the thing with those is like I wouldn't go out of the way to build them. They're getting kind of like the Shadowland and Dark Hunters type of treatment where this season they're great, and if you already have them built, I would use them. But do not go out of your way to build these teams up higher. That's just a bad idea.
No, I think I have X-23 and Negasonic built real big from that team simply because they were the damage dealers on it, and the rest of the team's still in purple gear, I think. But I can get some use out of them because they're in 13-14 gear. So that'll be good. All right, let's take a look at the breakdown of these rooms. Room 1 and 2, Jgiusti picks Black Order, has Guardians and Mystic teams. Athame's got Astonishing X-Men, Uncanny Magic, has Guardians also. And then this long shot, Shatterstar, X-23, Polaris, Zemo. I get the dad bros with X-23 and Polaris. Why Zemo?
One of the fastest characters in the game. If you have him as a raider, he can still pop off, and even if he isn't doing that much damage or clearing anything, if they go into it with another mutant team, he's going to get Longshot and Shatterstar going.
Okay.
And then they'll carry everything else.
Simply hoping for crit damage up front to get that team rolling faster.
Pretty much.
So you could, if you don't, like, because you don't have Zemo built to this day, right, Athame?
No, he is still level 1.
Okay, so who would you use in place of Zemo as a fast character that could crit early?
Yo-Yo.
There you go. Okay. And Jgiusti, tell me about why you want to put Black Order and Asgard and the Mystic teams in there.
So this is more of just so 1 and 2, they don't have any defensive bonus, right? So I think a mistake here is that I'm seeing from a lot of content creators that they're suggesting this is where you're going to leave your Darkhold, and this is absolutely where you do not leave your Darkhold at. There's a key room, obviously, that we're going to talk about later on in this video. But so these are the kind of teams that just give RNG, right? Asgard has a tendency, especially when they're that million power, they all pop up in it, all those buffs, and then they just roll you for whatever reason, and you had the perfect strategy. Black Order, the Thanos double tap comes out of nowhere, kills somebody, you're like, awesome, there went my attack. So these teams are just kind of like 1 and 2. These are just good teams you already have built, and they give enough RNG to make it worth it, you know?
Would you guys agree that 1 and 2 is going to remain it? Like in this current season, the preseason, it was basically everybody used it for whatever they had built big that they didn't need on offense. It was just kind of the filler rooms where you didn't really care about it too much. Is that going to be the same thing here? Or are you really going to be leaning into that hero mutant?
Given the room bonuses in 3 through 6, with the notable exception of 6, to some degree, depending on what you want to do there, I do think that 1 and 2 is where you're going to be putting your Axemen, your Dad Bros, your Uncanny Magic, if you want to use those teams on defense, because putting them on defense, a lot of people are going to struggle to really come into some of those teams, because Axemen's only issue is their stats.
Mm-hmm.
Their kit is more than fine. So getting all this extra stats, that team is going to quickly shoot to the top.
Okay. Let's move on to room number 3. Unless, Jgiusti, did you have something to
add? No, the funny thing is that I'm actually going to be kind of doing a little bit opposite. So like the teams you're talking about, like Axemen, Dad Bros, I'm planning on using those teams on offense because their stats have increased so much better. So I think that's where you're going to see that in our defenses as we pick.
Oh, yeah?
Because I'm thinking keeping those on offense, and he's thinking keeping those on defense.
Okay, so 2 ways to go about it, whether you want to turtle or just go full throttle. Room 3, the Spider-Verse room. Obviously, this is going to be the Tangled Web room, right? I mean, it's kind of like how room 5 started out being the Wakandans room. Now room 3 is going to be the Spider-Verse room with the Tangled Web team. Do you guys agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, the Tangle Web team. And so I picked, like, until Tangle Web comes out, treat this like 1 or 2. Like, I personally don't think there's a Spider-Verse team that's really worth putting out there right now. That will not just get rolled over.
Okay.
That bonus of Safeguard is just not enough to make like Web Warriors survive Bionic Avengers.
Okay, so what about just throwing in your symbiotes in here? If you've got a leftover symbiote from back in the day, would that be something to use in the meantime?
Dark Hunters would probably just crush through that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing you got to think about it is this game is, I mean, there's only 12 teams that really matter because you have 6 on offense, 6 on defense. And so let's say 70. So that's only the top third of your roster right now is what you're going to utilize. And symbiotes just are not in that top third. Let's just be real.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They probably aren't even the top half at this point.
So then you're thinking some sort of a mishmash of leftover Web Warriors and other Spider-Verse characters, Athame? That's what you want to do?
Yeah, so Doc Ock getting that safeguard can be relevant because there's no way that regen's going to get flipped from teams like Black Order,
mm-hmm.
which is a good use if anyone brings in anything else. SSM is going to give them all that extra max health, and it can give them the potential to do something to Bionic or make that punch up a little bit more difficult or cost you more time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's go on to room number 4. On end of turn, global heroes gain offense up. So this is kind of more for a little bit more drawn out battles, but you still want to have people that can damage and move quickly in here. Okay, so you guys both like Gamma, but Jgiusti, you want Scarlet Witch, and Athame likes Invisible Woman. What's the difference between the two for you? How do those play out? Why don't you go first, Jgiusti?
Yeah, so Gamma, first of all, they're terrifying. I just played one last round, and I was losing my match, so I was kind of testing a couple of theories, and they are very, very strong. And so one of the biggest things they have is they have 2 people who give stuns on their first turn. And so if they stun an opportune person, let's say Kestrel, and then Scarlet Witch is going to come back and extend that stun, it's going to be a very painful fight and very hard to come back on that.
Mm-hmm. And Athame, your reasoning for Invisible Woman?
So, whereas he's looking from an offense perspective, Invisible Woman will buff up She-Hulk, which is going to keep chucking back those deflects, and she brings an extra clear to the team, and more offense down. And despite her being one of the slowest members on the team, her charge mechanic makes the Gamma able to just prolong a brawl like indefinitely. Like how we went up against one. I went up against a Storm Gamma team in Room 6 for my CC. And I had to throw an Eternals, Omega Red, Kestrel super team, essentially, with Dormammu to actually counter that.
Now, I don't plan on getting Braun. Well, I don't know. He's a campaign release character, so I'll probably get him as soon as that campaign opens up. But for those of us free-to-play players who are not paying to unlock Braun early, could we replace him with somebody like Doom to pair up with Invisible Woman and help give her some of that 50% turn meter she gets when she goes on her 50% and gains some turn meter from Doom? Is that an option, or do you guys think that Doom is somebody you're going to want to save for offense?
I think you have to save him for offense because Bionic Avengers just counterattack so well. And Braun, kind of, what you see with Gamma is essentially what Infinity Watch did. Like, we got Gamora and Nebula, and then you got Phyla, and you start to see the team come together. Once you got Moondragon, immediately everything else was off the table. That couldn't match that. And that's kind of the same thing with Braun, is that he immediately, you see the team start to come together.
I see. So I need to be saving my golden resources for when I unlock him to get him built fast. I mean, I see, I've seen other content creators showing off the Gamma team. I see the potential and everything. It looks pretty amazing. Makes me super jealous when I don't have these characters unlocked. So we've got X23, Negasonic, Black Bolt, Yo-Yo. Pick one: Deathpool, Crystal, or Silver Surfer. What's your reasoning? You're thinking with this team setup?
So on that team, it's just going to be a pretty beefy team that has a couple of global heroes to take advantage of the damage. So Yo-Yo and Negasonic and X23 will all get that offense up. And there's a lot of turn meter manipulation on Negasonic and X23 to keep going. That will just let you use some old, potentially leftover characters to make a pretty decent defense that will soak something up.
Okay, and Crystal giving him some longevity, keeping the Inhumans topped off and everything. Silver Surfer, great plug and play character. Deathpool, extra damage there. I get all of these, so yeah, I see it. Okay, you guys want to move on to room 5?
Yeah.
Let's go on turn. Bio characters apply offense down to a random enemy without offense down. You guys, I think both of you guys are picking Gamma here also. Invisible Woman and Scarlet Witch again. See, Young Avengers eventually tangled web with Gwen and SSM, or Black Bolt, Yo-Yo, Crystal, Dad Bros. Tell me about that one, Athame.
Black Bolt and Crystal, as well as Yo-Yo, are all bio, so that can help apply the offense down to other team members. I kind of stack up with Yo-Yo to make sure that you're keeping the enemy team under a lot of offense down, as well as any out-of-turn damage, as that's really a mechanic that's becoming more and more popular with characters like Gambit and Wong and She-Hulk with her passive. You're seeing a lot more out-of-turn damage come into the game. So being able to check out offense downs to help mitigate some of that, Ghost Spider, or assist mechanics like Hulkbuster and Iron Man, Viv and Vision.
Well, I see both of you guys have Young Avengers as options in here too. And then the Tangled Web, both of those teams look like teams that you have to hit really hard. And if they're constantly applying offense down, I think that's going to make those teams very challenging to overcome. I mean, I think Gamma's going to survive just about anywhere you put him. That team's just ridiculous. But I think for me, I'm thinking that Young Avengers is going to be the place, and then maybe the Tangled Web. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I think we're a little bit surprised about how strong Gamma is just at the 4-piece. I mean, they're almost so strong that they don't, like, Red Hulk can be pulled off and the other 4 are just fine. Just like a good example would be like Infinity Watch. So they're very similar to Infinity Watch in their power together. And so you may see Red Hulk being put on 6 with something else, just because of how strong the 4-piece is, and it's just kind of crazy to think in that. So because they're so strong, they're going to be very dominant this season in how we make our decisions.
Okay. Let's go on to room 6 since you brought it up, the legendaries. Legendary characters gain 50% damage on spawn. Legendary characters gain 3 turns of defense up and safeguard. On turn, legendary characters remove all negative effects from themselves and gain speed up. Now, I was thinking about this, and you know, you guys like the Horseman team, Starcold. Athame has Omega Red on his list. I was actually thinking about characters that apply trauma might be very important to use on offense in room 6, since they're constantly removing all their negative effects. So for me, with my 7/7 Omega Red, I was thinking saving him for offense. What do you guys think? Like, what would you be holding back to go? This seems kind of ridiculous, this the stuff going on here in room 6. What do you guys think about, what are you going to be keeping for offense?
So this is one of those moments where you're like, do the devs play this game? That's how when I saw this, I was like, because your first thought is, oh, we're gonna take some of these old legendaries, we're gonna make them, recycle them.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really gonna happen is it's like adding 5 stars to Morgan Le Fay and seeing the damage being insane, where she one-shots anything that's not another Horseman. And so that's kind of where, like, a lot of you're gonna see. It's going to be a match of the 3 Horsemen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So personally, I plan to keep Unlimited because they're the most versatile out of the 3, and Darkhold will definitely be on there with some. He may have a couple of partners, you know. Like, I'm really thinking about throwing like Red Hulk in the mix with Darkhold in 6.
Okay. Athame, what are you thinking?
So my primary thought is actually a little bit of a different direction. I think that Darkhold is probably going to be better on offense, and that in 6, the scariest defense you're going to see outside of whoever is crazy enough to put all 3 Horsemen together. We all hate you.
Yeah.
But Gambit, Rogue, Jubilee, Bishop, and Beast. I think that team is going to be catastrophically difficult to match up, because Gambit's going to give that extra health chunk to the entire Axeman. Jubilee and Rogue are both getting that legendary bonus.
Mm-hmm.
And you are not going to be able to stop Rogue from getting to her turn.
Right. Would you consider switching Jubilee back to a striker for that team because of that 50% damage increase?
I don't know. I can't honestly say that I would or not.
Because I think that, I mean, I don't know if her being a skirmisher is going to do you any good, especially when she's going to be doing more damage than Bishop will, I think, at this point in time with that damage increase. So when I was seeing room 6, I thought something similar about this, and I was thinking maybe switching my Jubilee back to a striker to see if I could get that damage to really play out and have her double tap with her blind and stuff like that. But I don't know if her blind's going to stick even with a skirmisher on there because of this resistance meta that we're in. And I mean, again, what are you going to hold back in case somebody goes nuts and puts in a bunch of Horsemen in room 6, or just has a 5-piece legendary team that's just, you know, crazy. So I was thinking, Omega Red, Doc Ock. At first I thought about X-23 with the Eternals, but now I'm thinking, my X-23 isn't going to compare to what people are going to be putting in here. So I don't think that's an option. I think it's going to have to be something kind of crazy. Honestly, when I saw the stats for room 6, I kind of thought room 6 might be a room that people just don't bother with. Like, somebody might come in with something so immense in here, like a 3-piece Horseman team, that you're just like, I don't have anything for this. I'm not going to bother, triple tapping to try and get through it and still not be sure I can do it.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to pretty much have to happen, is you are going to hit someone that eventually will do that.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing with the Unlimited Axeman team is you could do Jubilee Striker, Bishop Skirmisher to still get all those vulnerables out. And you're just going to have too much trouble getting through that damage reduction and health smack, because that entire team is going to be thick.
Yeah, because I mean, you're going with the hero mutants with the global thing plus the legendary stats on top of this, and that's just ridiculous. I don't know what they were thinking.
To the entire X-Men.
I see a lot of complaints coming out after season 1 because people are just going to be like, well, it's room 6. We didn't even bother trying. But I don't know.
It is exactly the problem. And that's what's going to come down to people putting at least one Horseman team in there, because if you believe anything less than that, I mean, there's so much buffs coming to Jubilee. She can solo, like, think of the 5 legendaries that are the top 5 best. Phoenix, Jubilee, and you put them all together, she will solo the other 5.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if they're not any non-Horseman legendary, she will literally just solo all 5 of them by herself without even needing the rest of her team, because of how much stronger their stats are and how much that's going to scale with 50% damage stacked on with 50% more damage. I mean, it's going to be insane.
Speaking of Horsemen, do we know when the those awakened abilities are going to be coming out for Rogue? Do we know?
It's going to be this patch. They already put it in the notes.
It is going to be this patch, so you'll be seeing Morgan Le Fay and Rogue teamed up, and we don't know what her awakened abilities are, but if they're anything along the lines of what MLF is, it's going to be ridiculous, right?
No, it's absolutely going to be worse. Like, it is so much worse than you think. So if they're following the same patterns for Morgan, her team buffs applied to the rest of the Horsemen. We're probably going to see the same thing with Rogue. I'm expecting her to probably give defense up to Horsemen on spawn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm expecting her to probably give damage and drain to Horsemen on spawn. And I wouldn't be surprised if her special starts to give safeguard and immunity to Horsemen.
Ugh. Oh, man. It could get ugly. It could really get ugly.
If she gives that damage and drain to Morgan Le Fay, you will never see Morgan die again in Room 6.
I gotta ask you guys, we gotta move on a little bit, try to keep the video somewhat short. So Athame, are you going for a huge defense to start with, or are you gonna reserve some stuff for offense?
So I tend to take as much of a balanced approach as possible, and obviously you see I'm trying to go for hero mutants to form the bulk of my defense between 1 and 2 and 6, and then I'm using mostly leftovers to forge the rest of my defense for now. And then I'll put a lot of my weight into offense.
Okay.
For me, it's always about building that, 1 or 2 defenses that would really give someone a fit. Like for me in preseason, it's my huge-ass storm hold that some people 3-tap it, some people never even come close.
Okay. Jgiusti, I'm going to be going full offense. I'm going to save all my best stuff. I might even take my wife's advice and just put in all hand in there, not even fill it out the first round and see what people are using and have everything available to attack into it. What are you going to be doing?
So I usually go also balance. So what I tend to do is I look at my defense, and my goal is to set my defense up that it's strong enough that I can't 1-tap everything, but I can 2-tap through everything. So like my defense, with my offense, it'd probably take me 8 or 9 hits to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little defense heavy, but I'm not heavy enough that I can't full clear myself. And so that's usually a good healthy balance for most people's rosters. Is can I full clear myself? But if you're able to just walk through your defense, you have not enough defense.
Yeah.
And also,
what was that?
Yeah, you won't climb if your defense is too thin.
I don't know. My wife is still winning against people who are trying their hardest, and she is placing a complete hand defense. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, the room buffs in this season are a little too good almost. So I think I'm going to have to put in something. Now, I've got showing on the screen, Athame, this is your little kind of cheat sheet for what people can plug into rooms 1 through 6 and some good and less good counters. Is there anything you want to point out on this spreadsheet?
So what you're going to see is we're going to continue to see a lot of these characters from especially newer teams and reworks continue to hybridize and find their place in the meta in perhaps places you don't expect. Secret Avengers will probably be able to hybridize with Wakanda if you don't plan to use that team on offense, because Shuri and Maria Hill share such a heavy healing synergy with all the deflex getting flung out by Shuri, and Sam and Shuri with all the defense up and energy generation, that you can just stall teams out ad nauseum.
Okay. Well, I wanna back away from this for just a little bit. How much are you guys building for Cosmic Crucible?
It's my top priority.
Really? Over raids?
My raid teams are all up there. It has taken past raids for me in current goal setting.
Okay, so if you were still having trouble in raids, would that be your #1 priority? Or like for other people, what do you recommend? Should we be building for Crucible as our #1 priority, or should we still be making sure our raid teams are doing what we need them to do, or should we treat this like Tower, where it's just a roster check?
Raids first, Cosmic Crucible second, because it is the second best reward structure in the game outside of raids.
Jgiusti, would you agree?
I completely agree. I mean, the only thing I would add would be the Horsemen's, but those are things you're building anyway.
Right.
In those capacities. So yeah, it definitely goes, and then those filter each other out, right? Like if your raid teams are great, they will be helpful in Cosmic Crucible, and then Cosmic Crucible will then help you with War.
Great Cosmic Crucible.
What was that? The thing? I
was cracking.
Oh.
I said Axeman will be great in Cosmic Crucible.
Well, who would have thought?
For this season.
Who would have thought?
Well, it's funny because I just remember in our video we just had on Friday, we were like, oh, Axeman's days in the sunlight are going, and then it's like we saw the room buff, so I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Totally wrong. Totally wrong.
Just kidding, guys.
Yeah, so I appreciate you guys coming in here. I had some ideas of what I was going to put down for my defenses, and of course, you kind of blew them all out of the water for me. Everything I was thinking of, I'm rethinking now. So I'm probably going to take a look over here at Athame's cheat sheet, and I'll probably plug a few things in. But like I said, I'm going to hold a lot back for offense for sure, and I'm definitely going to be pushing the build on my Gamma team. I finally got that. Bionic Avengers up and running for these Stark milestones, and so I could get through the tech section, because man, I was having trouble in tech. So I think I'm going to be pushing hard on Gamma because they look nuts, and you guys have given me some great ideas of what I can do in rooms 1 through 6. I'm actually kind of excited about rooms 1 and 2 with the base stats. I think they're going to be a lot of fun for, you know, like the Uncanny Magic team going in there. I think that'll be kind of cool. So I appreciate you guys joining me. All the links to the cheat sheets and stuff I will put in the description, and I will plug you guys in the description too. So if anybody wants to find you guys, whether it be on Discord or YouTube or Twitch or whatever you guys are doing, I'll have that stuff in there. So thank you guys for joining me, and thank you for helping me figure this out. Appreciate it.
Later.